I stared at the screen until my eyes burned, tears streaming down my face as I watched the numbers drop. Subscribers: 45,231. Yesterday it had been 45,890. The day before, 46,102. My channel, BLStories, was bleeding viewers, and I knew exactly why. My name is Author McCain, and 3 months ago I thought I'd finally found a way out. I'm 24 years old, with pale skin that burns easily in the sun, delicate features that my brother Joel always teased me about, and blue eyes that my mother used to say held entire oceans. She'd been gone for 2 years now. Dad had followed her 6 months later, his heart giving out from grief as much as anything else. That left just Joel and me, 2 brothers trying to survive in a world that didn't make it easy. The apartment we shared was tiny, barely big enough for our second-hand furniture and dreams that felt increasingly impossible. Joel was 19, still trying to figure out his path, while I took whatever work I could find. Manual labor mostly, loading trucks, moving furniture, cleaning offices after hours. That last one nearly destroyed me in a different way. I'd taken a cleaning job at a businessman's home, desperate for the extra money. It seemed normal at first, professional even. Until he wasn't. Until his hand was on my waist, then sliding lower, his breath hot against my neck as he pressed me against the kitchen counter. I'd fought him off, barely, and run out of that house with my dignity shredded and my faith in humanity at an all-time low. Never again, I told Joel that night, shaking in our cramped living room. I need to find something else. Something safer. That's when the idea came to me. Stories. I'd always loved stories. Reading them, imagining them, losing myself in worlds where things worked out, where love conquered all, where second chances were real. In those stories, people like me found happiness. They found safety. They found love. So I started BLStories. Every evening after my day jobs, I'd sit at my battered laptop and write. I'd record myself narrating tales of romance between men, beautiful, emotional stories of love overcoming obstacles, of finding connection in unexpected places, of happy endings that felt earned. My voice became familiar to thousands of people who, like me, needed to believe in something better. The work consumed me. I poured everything into that channel. My hopes, my dreams, my desperate need to create a world more perfect than the one I lived in. If my reality was harsh and unforgiving, at least my stories could offer comfort. At least in my fictional worlds, love was possible, second chances existed, and happiness wasn't just for other people. 3 months of grueling work finally paid off. My channel hit the monetization threshold. Joel and I celebrated with cheap champagne and takeout pizza, dancing around our tiny apartment like we'd won the lottery. Maybe we had, in a way. For the first time since our parents died, I could see a path forward. Financial stability. Security. Hope. That hope lasted exactly 5 days. I was scrolling through YouTube, checking my analytics when I saw it. A notification about a channel called BLStories-b2q. Curious, I clicked through. My stomach dropped. It was my content. All of it. Every story I'd written, every video I'd edited, every thumbnail I'd designed, stolen, copied, re-uploaded to someone else's channel like they'd created it themselves. No, I whispered, clicking through video after video. No, no, no. They'd taken everything. Not just 1 or 2 videos, but my entire catalog. And their channel was growing faster than mine ever had, boosted by algorithms I didn't understand, reaching audiences that should have been mine. I reported them immediately. Then again. And again. I sent emails to YouTube, filled out form after form, provided proof that I was the original creator. I even tried contacting the channel directly, begging them to stop. Nothing changed. Worse, they kept doing it. Every new video I uploaded appeared on their channel within hours. When I didn't post, they stole from other creators, building their empire on stolen dreams. I watched helplessly as my subscriber count dropped, my views diminished, my income, that precious, fragile hope, evaporated. The YouTube algorithm favored the thief's channel over mine. My reach decreased while theirs expanded. It was like drowning in slow motion, watching the surface get further and further away. Author. Joel found me one evening, slumped over my laptop, tears dripping onto the keyboard. What's wrong? I couldn't even answer. How could I explain that our one shot at security had been stolen by someone I'd never met? That all my work, all my effort, all those sleepless nights meant nothing because someone else had decided my dreams were theirs to take? It's not fair, I finally choked out. Joel, it's just not fair. He held me while I cried, but we both knew that fairness had nothing to do with it. The world didn't care about fair. It never had. That night, I sat alone in front of my laptop, eyes swollen from crying. My last video had gotten barely 1,000 views. The same content on the stolen channel? 50,000 and climbing. I closed my eyes, exhausted beyond measure. I wish I could go back, I whispered to no one. I wish I could stop this before it started. I wish. My voice trailed off. What did I wish? For justice? For a second chance? For someone to care? I kept my eyes closed, letting the darkness wash over me. Maybe if I just rested for a moment, I could figure out what to do next. Maybe tomorrow would bring answers. Maybe. When I opened my eyes again, everything had changed. The light was wrong. That was my first thought when my eyes fluttered open. The sunlight streaming through our apartment window had the quality of early morning, golden and fresh, not the tired late evening gray I'd just been sitting in. I sat up, confused. Had I fallen asleep? But I was in bed now, not slumped over my laptop. And I was wearing the old t-shirt I'd thrown out 2 weeks ago, the one with the coffee stain that wouldn't come out. What? I stumbled to my desk, grabbing my phone. The date made my heart stop. 3 months earlier. The date showed 3 months earlier. This is impossible, I muttered, checking my laptop. My channel analytics loaded, showing numbers I recognized, from 3 months ago, from before monetization, before the theft, before everything fell apart. I clicked through to YouTube, my hands shaking. Searched for BLStories-b2q. No results found. Of course not. That channel didn't exist yet. Wouldn't exist for another few months. I've lost my mind, I said aloud. The stress finally broke me. Author? You okay in there? Joel called from the kitchen. You're talking to yourself again. Joel? I rushed out of my room. My brother stood at the stove, exactly as he had 3 months ago, making breakfast before his community college classes. He looked younger somehow, less tired. Because he was younger. Because this was 3 months ago. Whoa, easy there. Joel laughed at my expression. You look like you've seen a ghost. Bad dream? Something like that. I sank into a chair, my mind racing. This wasn't possible. People didn't travel back in time. This had to be a dream, a hallucination, a complete psychotic break from reality. But it felt real. The chair was solid under me. The smell of Joel's terrible cooking was exactly as I remembered. The crack in the wall by the window, the one the landlord kept promising to fix, it was there, familiar and unchanging. Before we dive into this twisted, reborn, revenge and redemption, emotional love story, if you are obsessed with reborn and revenge stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and also comment on the story, and don't forget this story is an original work of BL Stories, no copyrights. If you see this story in another channel, please report that channel for copyright and theft. Now let's dive in. If this was real, if I really had somehow come back. Joel, I said slowly. What date is it? September 15th. He gave me a concerned look. Are you sure you're okay? Maybe you should stay home today. You've been working yourself too hard. September 15th. Exactly 3 months before my channel would be monetized. 3 months before BL Stories, B2Q would steal everything. A second chance. Somehow, impossibly, I'd been given a second chance. But what could I do with it? I didn't know who ran the theft channel. Didn't know how to prevent them from stealing my content. Didn't know how to protect myself from something I couldn't see coming. I need to go out, I announced, standing abruptly. I need to think. Okay, weirdo. Joel shrugged, turning back to his eggs. Grocery shopping later? We're almost out of everything. Yeah, I agreed absently, already heading to my room to change. Groceries. Right. I spent the morning walking, trying to process what had happened. The city looked the same. Same graffiti on the corner store, same construction on Fifth Avenue, same homeless man who always asked me about my day rather than just my spare change. All exactly as it had been 3 months ago. By evening, I'd almost convinced myself to accept it. Whether this was real or an elaborate delusion, it was happening. I was here in the past with knowledge of what was coming. Maybe I couldn't prevent it, but I could prepare. I could document everything, build my case against the thief before they even started. I could... Excuse me? I looked up. I'd been standing in the grocery store, staring blankly at a shelf of pasta, lost in thought. The man standing next to me was striking. Tall, easily 6 feet, with dark hair that fell slightly over black-framed glasses. He had an angular face, intelligent eyes, and the kind of build that suggested he spent more time in libraries than gyms, but was somehow attractive anyway. He wore a simple button-down shirt and jeans, nothing fancy, but everything fit him perfectly. You've been staring at that jar of sauce for 5 minutes? He said, a hint of amusement in his voice. Is it particularly fascinating, or are you okay? Oh. I realized I'd been blocking his access to the shelf. Sorry, I was just contemplating the meaning of marinara? His smile was gentle, not mocking. Despite everything, I laughed. Something like that. I'm Craig. He extended a hand. Craig Honor. Author McCain. I shook his hand, noting it was warm and slightly calloused. Not what I'd expect from someone who looked so scholarly. Author? That's an unusual name. My parents were optimistic. I grabbed a random jar of sauce just to have something to do with my hands. They hoped I'd write great things. And do you? The question was casual, but something in his eyes suggested genuine interest. I found myself answering honestly. I tell stories. On YouTube. Romance stories mostly. Romance stories. Craig pushed his glasses up, a gesture I'd come to know well in time. That's wonderful. The world needs more people creating joy. Such a simple statement, but it hit me hard. After months, 3 months in the future, of feeling like my work meant nothing, of watching someone else profit from my creations, hearing someone validate what I did brought unexpected tears to my eyes. Hey, Craig's voice softened. Are you all right? Yeah, sorry. I wiped at my eyes quickly. It's been a rough day. Rough few months, actually. Or, it will be. It's complicated. I expected him to make an excuse and leave. Most people did when confronted with emotional strangers in grocery stores. Instead, Craig tilted his head thoughtfully. You know what helps when things are complicated? Coffee. He paused. There's a cafe 2 blocks from here. Would you like to grab a cup? No pressure, I know I'm a stranger. But sometimes talking to a stranger is exactly what you need. I should have said no. Should have remembered my previous experience with men who seemed kind but had ulterior motives. Should have protected myself. But something about Craig felt different. Safe somehow. Like the universe that had brought me back 3 months had also given me this unexpected meeting for a reason. Coffee sounds good, I heard myself say. Craig's smile widened, transforming his face from merely attractive to genuinely beautiful. Great. Let me just grab my groceries and we can walk over together? As I waited for him to shop, I wondered what I was doing. I had bigger problems than making friends with handsome strangers. I had a channel to protect, a thief to stop, a brother to take care of. But maybe, I thought, watching Craig efficiently select items with the precision of someone who approached even grocery shopping systematically, maybe this was part of figuring things out. Maybe this second chance wasn't just about preventing the theft. Maybe it was about not being alone this time. Ready? Craig appeared beside me, reusable bags in hand. Very environmentally conscious. Very thoughtful. Ready? I agreed. As we walked toward the cafe, the evening sun casting long shadows on the sidewalk, I had no idea that I'd just met the person who would change everything. That the man beside me, with his gentle smile and intelligent eyes, would become my ally, my protector, and eventually so much more. All I knew was that for the first time since opening my eyes in the past, I felt something other than panic. I felt hope. The cafe was one of those small, independent places that survived on atmosphere and actually good coffee rather than corporate branding. Mismatched furniture, local art on the walls, the smell of fresh pastries mixing with espresso. Craig ordered a black coffee. I like to taste the beans, while I got something with far too much vanilla and whipped cream. So, Craig said once we were settled at a corner table, you don't have to tell me anything you're not comfortable with. But you seemed like you needed to talk. I stirred my coffee, watching the whipped cream dissolve. Where would I even start? Well, Craig, I traveled back in time because in the future someone steals my YouTube content and ruins my life. Instead, I said, have you ever worked really hard for something only to watch someone else take credit for it? Craig's expression shifted, something dark flickering across his features before he controlled it. Yes, actually. More than once. How did you deal with it? Poorly at first. He wrapped his hands around his coffee cup. I got angry. Bitter. Spent a lot of time thinking about revenge instead of moving forward. He paused. Eventually, I learned to protect myself better. To be smarter about who I trusted and how I shared my work. And that worked. Mostly. His smile was wry. I'm still learning. We all are, I think. We talked for hours. I told him about my channel, about the stories I wrote, about trying to create worlds where love and happiness were possible. He listened with complete attention, asking thoughtful questions, genuinely engaged in what I was saying. In return, Craig told me he worked in IT, computers and networks mostly, and that he understood the frustration of creative work. He'd done some programming projects that others had tried to claim, dealt with idea theft in corporate environments. The worst part, I found myself confessing, is feeling helpless. Like there's nothing you can do to stop people from taking what's yours. Craig's jaw tightened slightly. There are always things you can do. Sometimes it just takes the right tools and knowledge. Something in his tone made me look up. His eyes behind those glasses were sharp, calculating. Not in a cruel way but in the way of someone who understood systems and how to navigate, or break, them. You sound like you have experience with that, I ventured. Let's just say I have particular skills. His smile returned. And I believe in helping people protect what's theirs. We exchanged numbers before parting. As I walked home, groceries finally purchased, I felt lighter than I had in months. Than I would have in months, I corrected myself. Time travel grammar was confusing. Joel noticed immediately. You look better. The walk helped. I met someone, I said, unable to keep the smile off my face. Oh. Joel's eyebrows rose. Someone? Just a friend. Maybe. I don't know. I started putting away groceries. His name is Craig. Craig. Joel tested the name. And does Craig know you're into guys? It didn't come up. I paused. Actually, I told him about my channel, so yeah, probably. And he didn't run away screaming? Author, you might have found a unicorn. I laughed, but part of me wondered if Joel was right. Craig had seemed completely comfortable with what I did, with who I was. No judgment, no awkwardness, just acceptance. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Got home safely. Thanks for the coffee and conversation. Craig. I saved his number, smiling like an idiot. Maybe this second chance would be different in more ways than one. The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of work and unexpected joy. I continued building my channel, but now I also had coffee dates with Craig. They started as casual meetups. The cafe, a walk in the park, lunch at a small restaurant he knew, but quickly became the highlight of my days. Craig was unlike anyone I'd ever met. He was intelligent without being condescending, kind without expecting anything in return, and genuinely interested in my life and work. He'd watch my videos and give thoughtful feedback, not just empty compliments but real engagement with the stories I told. This one, he said one afternoon, his laptop open between us at our now usual cafe table, the story about the artist and the musician? The way you built their connection through shared loneliness, that was beautiful. I felt my cheeks heat. You really watch all of them? Of course. He looked at me like it was obvious. You're talented, author. The way you craft emotional moments, how you make your audience feel seen and understood, that's a gift. My parents named me author, but you make me feel like I actually am one. Craig reached across the table, his hand covering mine briefly. The touch sent electricity through me. You are one. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. It was moments like that, small, seemingly insignificant gestures, that made me realize I was falling for him. The way he remembered my coffee order, how he texted me random thoughts throughout the day, the careful attention he paid when I talked about Joel or my childhood or my dreams. Joel noticed, of course. You're glowing, he said one evening when I came home from another coffee date. Like actually glowing. It's disgusting and I love it. We're just friends, I protested weakly. Right. And I'm just your roommate, not your brother. Joel flopped onto the couch beside me. Author, when was the last time you looked at someone the way you look at Craig? I don't. You do. And unless I'm completely misreading things, which I'm not, he looks at you the same way. I wanted to believe it. But relationships terrified me, especially after what had happened with that cleaning job. The thought of being vulnerable with someone, of trusting them not to hurt me. What if I'm wrong? I asked quietly. What if I'm reading signals that aren't there? Then he's not the right person. Joel's voice was uncharacteristically serious. But author, you can't live your whole life afraid of being hurt. Sometimes you have to take the chance. A second chance, I thought. That's what I'd been given, right? Not just to fix my channel situation but to live differently. To be braver. The next time I saw Craig, I decided to test the waters. We were walking through the city park, leaves crunching under our feet. October had arrived, bringing cool air and golden afternoons. Craig had his hands in his pockets, and I fought the urge to reach for one. Can I ask you something? I said. Always. Why do you spend so much time with me? Not that I'm complaining, but you barely know me. Craig stopped walking, turning to face me. The afternoon sun caught in his dark hair, and behind his glasses, his eyes were impossibly warm. I spend time with you because I want to, he said simply. Because talking to you is the best part of my day. Because you're kind and creative and you make me laugh. He paused. And because from the moment we met in that grocery store, I haven't been able to stop thinking about you. My heart hammered in my chest. Craig. I'm not trying to pressure you, he continued quickly. I know we haven't known each other long. But I believe in being honest about how I feel, and I feel. He took a breath. I feel like I've been waiting to meet you my whole life. It was such an earnest, almost nerdy declaration, so perfectly Craig, that I couldn't help but smile even as tears pricked my eyes. I feel the same way, I whispered. But Craig, I'm scared. Of what? Of being hurt. Of trusting someone and having them. I couldn't finish the sentence. Understanding crossed Craig's face. He stepped closer but didn't touch me, giving me space even as he offered comfort. I can't promise you'll never be hurt, he said softly. But I can promise that I will never deliberately cause you pain. I can promise that I see you, Author McCain, really see you, and I think you're remarkable. He smiled slightly. And I can promise to be patient while you figure out if you're willing to take a chance on this. On us, he meant. On whatever this growing thing between us could become. I thought about my life before, the loneliness, the struggle, the theft that had crushed my spirit. I thought about the stories I wrote, full of love and second chances, and how I'd never believed they could be for me. I want to try, I said. I'm terrified, but I want to try. Craig's smile could have lit the entire park. Yeah. I reached out, my hand trembling slightly, and took his. His fingers intertwined with mine, warm and solid and real. We stood there in the golden October light, holding hands like teenagers, grinning at each other like idiots. It wasn't a dramatic kiss or a grand gesture, just two people choosing to be brave together. So, Craig said eventually, does this mean I can officially call you my boyfriend? I think it does. The word felt strange and wonderful in my mouth. Boyfriend. I had a boyfriend. Good. Craig squeezed my hand. Because I've been wanting to kiss you for 3 weeks, and it would be really awkward if you'd said no. My breath caught. You want to kiss me? Very much. His eyes were dark with want. May I? Instead of answering, I pulled him closer, rising on my toes to close the distance between us. The first touch of Craig's lips against mine was gentle, tentative. He kissed me like I was something precious, something to be careful with. His hand came up to cup my face. Thumb brushing my cheekbone as he deepened the kiss slowly, giving me every opportunity to pull away. I didn't pull away. Instead, I wrapped my arms around his neck, kissing him back with all the longing I'd been suppressing. He tasted like coffee and something uniquely him, and when his tongue traced my lower lip, I opened for him with a soft sound I didn't recognize as my own. We broke apart, breathing hard, foreheads pressed together. Wow, I whispered. Yeah. Craig's voice was rough. Wow. We kissed again, longer this time, until an elderly woman walking her dog cleared her throat pointedly as she passed. We broke apart laughing, both flushed and slightly disheveled. Come home with me? Craig asked. Not for, just to spend time together. Joel's probably home, right? So maybe we could have privacy at my place? Just to talk and... He trailed off, suddenly uncertain. I'd like that, I said. Craig's apartment was a revelation. While mine was cramped and barely furnished, his was spacious and clearly decorated by someone with both taste and money. Not ostentatious but comfortable. Quality furniture, good lighting, an impressive computer setup in what looked like a home office. This is really nice, I said, looking around. Thanks. Craig seemed almost embarrassed. I do okay. The IT thing pays well. I wondered briefly what exactly the IT thing entailed, but then Craig was pulling me toward the couch, and all thoughts fled as he kissed me again. We spent hours there, kissing and talking and kissing some more. Craig was patient and attentive, never pushing for more than I was ready to give. When his hand slid under my shirt to touch bare skin, he paused, checking my reaction. When I tensed slightly, he immediately pulled back. We don't have to do anything, he murmured against my lips. I'm happy just kissing you. I want to, I admitted. I'm just nervous. Have you? He left the question unfinished, tactful as always. Not really. There was one guy in college, but it didn't go anywhere. I didn't mention the near assault. That was a conversation for another time. You? A couple relationships. Nothing serious. Craig brushed my hair back from my forehead. Author, we have all the time in the world. There's no rush. But part of me wanted to rush. Wanted to prove to myself that I could be intimate with someone, that I wasn't forever broken by what had almost happened. That I could have this pleasure, connection, love, like characters in my stories did. Craig, I said, decision made, I want to try. If something's too much, I'll tell you. But I want to try. His eyes searched mine, looking for any sign of doubt. Whatever he saw must have satisfied him because he nodded slowly. Then we try, he agreed. But the moment you want to stop, we stop. No questions, no pressure. Okay. Okay. What followed was a slow, careful exploration. Craig touched me like I was made of glass, every caress a question, every kiss seeking permission. He removed my shirt with shaking hands, pressing kisses to my pale skin, murmuring about how beautiful I was until I believed it. When we finally moved to his bedroom, he laid me down on sheets that smelled like him, clean and slightly spicy, and took his time mapping every inch of my body. His hands were clever, finding places that made me gasp and arch. His mouth followed, hot and wet, driving me to distraction. Still okay? He checked constantly. More than okay, I managed. Craig smiled against my skin, then slid lower, and I'd never felt anything like it. The heat of his mouth, the skill of his tongue, the way he learned my responses and adjusted his technique accordingly. He brought me to the edge again and again, backing off when I got too close, building the pleasure until I was begging incoherently. When I finally came apart, his name on my lips, it felt like more than physical release. It felt like trust made manifest, like vulnerability rewarded, like proof that intimacy could be beautiful rather than terrifying. Afterward, Craig held me close, our bodies fitted together perfectly. I traced patterns on his chest. He'd undressed too, though we hadn't gone further than oral, feeling peaceful in a way I couldn't remember ever feeling before. Thank you, I whispered. For what? For being patient. For being you. Craig pressed a kiss to my hair. Thank you for trusting me. I know that wasn't easy. We fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other, and for the first time since arriving in the past, I didn't dream about the theft channel. I dreamed about Craig, about possibilities, about a future that might actually be happy. If only I'd known that the threat I'd traveled back to prevent was about to rear its ugly head. I woke up to my phone buzzing insistently. Craig's arm was wrapped around my waist, his breath soft against my neck. For a moment I just enjoyed it, the warmth of his body, the safety of his presence. Then I saw the notification that had been vibrating my phone off the nightstand. YouTube creator alert. Your channel BLStories was mentioned in new channel BLStories-b2q. My blood turned to ice. No, I whispered, sitting up so fast I nearly fell off the bed. No, it's too early. This isn't supposed to happen yet. Craig stirred, immediately alert in the way of someone used to waking up quickly. Author? What's wrong? I couldn't answer. I was too busy pulling up YouTube on my phone with shaking hands. And there it was, BLStories-b2q newly created with 3 videos already uploaded. My videos. My content. Stolen again. It's happening, I said, my voice hollow. It's happening again. What's happening? Author, you're scaring me. I realized I was trembling. Craig sat up, concern etched across his face, one hand on my shoulder. I need to tell you something, I said. And you're going to think I'm insane. Try me. So I told him everything. About the original timeline where my channel got monetized, where the theft channel appeared and destroyed everything I'd worked for, where I watched helplessly as my dreams crumbled. About crying myself to sleep and waking up 3 months in the past. About how I'd thought I had time to prepare to prevent this, but clearly I'd been wrong about when it would start. Craig listened without interruption, his expression unreadable. I know it sounds crazy, I finished miserably. Time travel isn't real. But I don't know how else to explain knowing exactly what's about to happen. I believe you, Craig said simply. I stared at him. You do. Author, I've seen enough strange things in my field to know that the universe doesn't always play by our rules. He took my phone, examining the theft channel with narrowed eyes. Besides, the alternative is that you're lying to me and I don't think you are. Relief flooded through me. So you don't think I'm crazy? Oh, I think you might be a little crazy. His smile softened the words. But that's part of your charm. His expression grew serious again. Show me everything. Every detail you remember about this channel, about what they did, about how it played out. I walked him through it, how they'd stolen every video, how reporting them did nothing, how they expanded by stealing from other creators too, how my channel slowly died while theirs thrived. Craig's jaw tightened with each detail. And YouTube never helped? They sent automated responses. Nothing changed. Okay. Craig stood, already moving toward his home office. Get dressed. We have work to do. Work? Author, I told you I work in IT. What I didn't tell you is exactly what kind of IT work I do. He glanced back at me and something in his expression was different, harder, more dangerous. I'm going to help you stop this. But first, I need to show you something. 15 minutes later, I stood in Craig's office, watching in awe as he pulled up program after program on a setup that looked nothing like a normal computer system. Craig, what is all this? The tools of my trade. His fingers flew across the keyboard with practiced ease. I'm what people call a white hat hacker. I find security vulnerabilities, help companies protect themselves, and occasionally, he paused, help people like you deal with thieves who think they're untouchable. I stared at him. You're a hacker. A legal one mostly. He flashed a quick grin. But I know how to bend rules when necessary. Now let's see what we're dealing with. I watched as Craig pulled up information about the BLStories-b2q channel I couldn't have accessed. IP addresses, account registration details, patterns in their uploading behavior. This is definitely automated, he muttered. They're using a bot to scrape content and re-upload it. Clever, but traceable if you know what to look for. Can you stop them? I can do better than that. Craig's smile was sharp. I can delete everything they've stolen, crash their operation, and make sure they can't just start over with a new channel. He looked at me. But author, what I'm about to do isn't strictly legal. If I do this, there's a small chance it could blow back on you. Are you sure you want me to proceed? I thought about the alternative, watching my channel die again, feeling helpless again, losing everything I'd worked for. I thought about other creators who would be victimized by this thief if they weren't stopped. Do it, I said. Craig nodded once, then turned back to his screens. This might take a few hours. Make yourself comfortable. I settled into a chair in the corner, watching him work. It was mesmerizing. The speed of his typing, the way he navigated through systems like he owned them, the focused intensity on his face. This was a side of Craig I hadn't seen before, and it was both intimidating and incredibly attractive. Around noon, Joel started calling. I texted him that I was fine at Craig's place, would explain later. He responded with about 15 eggplant emojis that made me roll my eyes. Finally, around 2 p.m., Craig sat back with a satisfied sound. Got them? Got them? Watch. He pulled up the BLStories-b2q channel on a regular browser. As I watched, the videos began disappearing one by one. First the stolen content from my channel, then the videos they'd taken from others. Within minutes, the channel was empty. That's not all, Craig said. He pressed a few more keys and the entire channel disappeared, not just empty but gone like it had never existed. And I've flagged their account information across YouTube's systems. If they try to create another channel using any of the same identifiers, it'll be automatically terminated. Craig. I was speechless. How did you do that? Trade secrets. He spun his chair to face me. But there's more. I have their real information now, name, location, all of it. We can report them to authorities for copyright theft, get law enforcement involved. Will that work? Probably not by itself. But, he hesitated. Author, there's something else I haven't told you. About who I am. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? Craig removed his glasses, rub his eyes, a gesture I now recognized as him preparing for a difficult conversation. My full name is Craig Honor. And I'm the CEO of Honor Systems, one of the largest IT security companies in the country. Worth about $8 billion last time I checked. I sat down heavily. What? I know. I should have told you sooner. He replaced his glasses, looking uncertain, so unlike his usual confidence. But when we met, you didn't know who I was, and that was refreshing. Everyone in my professional life wants something from me, access, money, connections. But you just wanted to talk about stories and life. You saw me as Craig, not as a CEO or a billionaire. I didn't want to lose that. My mind reeled. You're a billionaire? Technically, yes. But author, that doesn't change how I feel about you. It doesn't change us. I thought about his apartment. Spacious but not ostentatious. His clothes. Nice but not designer. The way he paid for our coffees without making a show of it, without expecting gratitude or recognition. You really kept this hidden? I said. I'm sorry. I know I should have told you sooner. Craig's expression was genuinely worried. Are you angry? Was I? I searched my feelings, finding mostly shock and confusion, but underneath, relief? Because if Craig had this kind of money and power, he could actually help. Could actually make sure the thief faced consequences. I'm not angry, I said slowly. I'm just processing. This is a lot. I know. And I completely understand if you need time to. Craig. I cut him off, standing and crossing to where he sat. You could have told me you were a billionaire CEO before we slept together. Before we got involved. But you didn't, which means you weren't trying to impress me or buy me. You just wanted me to know you as you, not as your bank account. I took his hands. That actually makes me trust you more, not less. Relief flooded Craig's features. He pulled me down onto his lap, wrapping his arms around me. You're amazing. You know that. Tell me more about how you can help stop this guy. Craig grinned, and I saw a hint of something almost predatory in it. Oh, I can do much more than stop him. With my resources, I can make sure he faces actual consequences. Criminal charges, civil suits, public exposure. By the time I'm done, he'll never be able to steal content from anyone again. You do that for me? Author, I'd do anything for you. His voice was serious. You're not just some guy I'm dating. You're... He paused, searching for words. You're someone I want to protect. Someone I want to build a life with. If that's not too intense too soon. It was intense. It was also exactly what I needed to hear. It's not too soon, I whispered and kissed him. The kiss deepened quickly, both of us seeking connection after the emotional roller coaster of the morning. Craig's hand slid under my shirt, and this time I didn't tense. This time I helped him remove it, then reached for his, wanting skin against skin. Bedroom? Craig suggested breathlessly. Bedroom, I agreed. What followed was nothing like the gentle, cautious exploration of the night before. This was passionate, almost desperate. Two people claiming each other, reassuring each other, celebrating that we were in this together. Craig laid me out on his bed and worshipped my body with his mouth and hands, drawing sounds from me I didn't know I could make. When he finally pressed a slick finger into me, I was so ready I practically begged for more. Patient, he murmured, working me open slowly despite my protests. I won't hurt you. By the time he was actually inside me, his length filling me in ways I'd never experienced, I was incoherent with need. Craig moved carefully at first, watching my face for any sign of discomfort, but when I wrapped my legs around his waist and urged him deeper, his control snapped. He made love to me thoroughly, finding angles that made me see stars, whispering praise against my skin, how perfect I felt, how beautiful I looked, how long he'd wanted this. When I came, his length hitting that spot inside me that made everything white out, I cried out his name. He followed moments later, and the feeling of him pulsing inside me, claiming me in the most intimate way possible, was almost enough to make me come again. After we lay tangled together, sweaty and satisfied. So, Craig said eventually, I deleted a criminal's channel, told you I'm a secret billionaire, and we had amazing sex. Quite a day. I laughed, the sound surprised out of me. When you put it that way? Author, I meant what I said. I'm going to make sure this person pays for what they did, what they tried to do, to you. And I'm going to make sure you and your channel are protected. No one messes with my boyfriend. My boyfriend. The word still gave me butterflies. Thank you, I said quietly. For everything. For believing me, for helping me, for just being you. Always, Craig promised. Now let's order some food and figure out our next steps. We have a thief to destroy. And for the first time since waking up in the past, I felt completely confident that everything was going to be okay. Because I had Craig, brilliant, powerful, caring Craig, on my side. The thief had no idea what was coming for them. The next 2 weeks were a whirlwind. Craig, true to his word, mobilized resources I couldn't have imagined. He hired lawyers, coordinated with law enforcement, and used his connections to fast-track what would normally be a months-long process. I continued making content for my channel, but now each video was watermarked and protected by systems Craig's company implemented specifically for me. Anyone trying to steal my content would find themselves facing technological barriers that would make it nearly impossible. Joel was shocked when I finally told him everything, about the time travel, about Craig's identity, about the theft that had been prevented. So you're dating a billionaire CEO who can hack things and time traveled from the future, Joel said slowly. Author, your life has become one of your stories. He wasn't wrong. The breakthrough came on a Tuesday. Craig called me, his voice tight with satisfaction. We've got him. His name is Marcus Hendricks. Lives in California, has a history of copyright theft, and was making about $20,000 a month off stolen content from dozens of creators. Law enforcement is picking him up today. Today. I could barely believe it. Today. An author? It gets better. We're not just getting him charged with copyright theft. We're also getting him for wire fraud, since he monetized stolen content, and for violating several federal computer crime statutes. He's looking at significant prison time. Prison? The word felt surreal. If convicted, which he will be given the evidence we've compiled, he could serve several years. And he'll have to pay restitution to you and every other creator he stole from. Craig paused. I'm also arranging for a public apology and disclosure. He'll have to admit what he did publicly so other creators can be aware and other potential thieves can see the consequences. It was more than I'd ever hoped for. More than I'd thought possible. I don't know what to say, I admitted. Say you'll come over tonight and celebrate with me. I'll cook dinner, and before you make a joke about billionaires cooking, I'm actually pretty good at it. I believe you. I smiled, warmth spreading through my chest. I'll be there. That evening, Craig's apartment smelled like garlic and herbs. He'd made pasta from scratch with a sauce that tasted like heaven. Where did you learn to cook like this? I asked around a mouthful of food. My grandmother. She believed everyone should know how to feed themselves properly. Craig's smile was fond. She'd be happy I'm cooking for someone I care about. After dinner, we moved to the couch with wine. Expensive wine, I noticed, though Craig poured it casually like it was $2 grocery store stuff. Can I ask you something? I said, curled against his side. Always. Why me? I mean, you're successful and wealthy and you could date anyone. Why choose someone like me? Craig was quiet for a moment, considering. Do you remember what you said when we first met? About creating worlds full of love and happiness because your real world wasn't the best. I nodded. That's why. Because despite everything you've been through, you still believe in creating joy. You still try to give people hope and happy endings. You're kind and creative and you see the best in people. He turned to look at me directly. You make me want to be better, author. You make me believe that all the work I do, all the money and success, it actually matters if I can use it to help people like you. Craig. I was crying, I realized. Happy tears this time. He wiped them away gently. I love you. I know it's fast and we've only known each other for about a month, but I love you. And I want you to know that you never have to worry again. About money, about safety, about thieves stealing your work. I'll make sure you're protected. I love you too, I whispered. And not because of your money. Because you're you. Because you believed me when I told you an impossible story. Because you've treated me like I matter. We made love again that night, slow and tender, taking our time to explore and pleasure each other. Craig was attentive and giving, seeming to find satisfaction in my reactions as much as in his own pleasure. When he was buried deep inside me, our bodies moving together perfectly, I felt complete in a way I never had before. After lying in his arms, I thought about my previous life. The loneliness, the despair, the feeling that happiness was for other people. And now I had this love, protection, a partner who would move heaven and earth to keep me safe. Thank you, I whispered into the darkness. For what? For being my second chance. In every way. Craig's arms tightened around me. You're mine too, you know. Before you, I was just going through the motions. Working, making money, but not really living. You reminded me what matters. We fell asleep like that, two people who'd found each other across time and circumstance, grateful for every moment. 3 months later, Marcus Hendricks stood in court and read a prepared statement admitting to his crimes. The video went viral on YouTube, where it served as a warning to other would-be content thieves. My channel continued to grow, now with the kind of protection most creators could only dream of. Craig's company had even developed new tools to help small creators protect their content, tools they offered for free in honor of what I'd been through. Joel got accepted to a better college, tuition paid by Craig, who insisted it was an investment in family. My brother took to calling Craig his billionaire brother-in-law, even though we weren't married yet. That thought came to me one evening as I watched Craig concentrating on his laptop, probably doing something impressive and technical I didn't fully understand. We'd moved in together, into a house actually that was big enough for Joel to have his own space when he visited. What? Craig asked, catching me staring. Just thinking about how lucky I am. We're lucky, he corrected. Both of us. He was right. We were both lucky to have found each other, to have this love, to have built this life together. My phone buzzed with a notification. Another 1,000 subscribers on my channel. Another 1,000 people who wanted to hear the stories I told about love and second chances and happy endings. And this time I wasn't just writing those stories. I was living one. Craig. I said, an idea forming. How do you feel about being in one of my videos? I want to share our story, not all the details but the important parts. About finding love when you weren't looking for it. About second chances. About how sometimes the universe gives you exactly what you need. Craig smiled, the expression transforming his face from handsome to beautiful. I think that sounds perfect. When do we start? Right now, I said, grabbing my camera. As I set up the shot, positioning us both in frame, I thought about everyone who'd watched this video. Everyone who felt alone or hopeless or like happiness was for other people. Maybe our story could give them hope. Maybe they'd believe like I now did that second chances were real. Ready? I asked Craig. Ready, he confirmed, taking my hand. I hit record and began. Hi everyone, Author here with BL Stories. Today I want to tell you about the greatest love story I've ever experienced. Mine. And as I told our story, our real story with all its messiness and beauty and unlikely timing, I looked at Craig beside me and knew that every difficult moment, every struggle, every tear had been worth it to arrive at this moment. This happiness, this love, this perfect, unlikely, wonderful second chance. 1 year later, I stood in front of my laptop, filming what had become a monthly tradition, updating my viewers on life, on love, on the journey Joel and I and Craig were on together. So, big news, I said to the camera, unable to stop smiling. Craig and I got engaged last week. I held up my hand showing the ring, simple, elegant, exactly my taste. Craig had proposed in the same park where we'd first kissed, coming full circle. I never thought I'd have this, I continued, my voice thick with emotion. 1.5 years ago, I was struggling just to survive, feeling like happiness was impossible. But then I met someone who changed everything. Someone who believed in me, who protected me, who showed me that love like in my stories could be real. The comments on the video would later be full of congratulations, happy emojis, and people saying they cried watching it. But in that moment, I wasn't thinking about the audience. I was thinking about Craig in the other room, probably working on some project that would help thousands of people in ways they'd never know. I was thinking about Joel, now thriving in college and pursuing his own dreams. I was thinking about how sometimes the worst moments in our lives lead us to the best ones. To anyone watching this who feels hopeless, I said to the camera, I promise you, second chances are real. Love is real. Happy endings are real. Sometimes you just have to be brave enough to believe in them. I ended the recording and went to find Craig. He was exactly where I expected. In his office, surrounded by screens, making the digital world a safer place. Hey, I said from the doorway. He looked up and his face lit up the way it always did when he saw me. Hey yourself. Done filming? Done filming. Want to take a break? Always. He stood, pulling me into his arms. What did you have in mind? I kissed him, deep and loving, putting 1 year of gratitude and joy into it. Just wanted to remind you that I love you. Love you too, he murmured against my lips. Forever, Author. I'm yours forever. Forever. Once, that word would have terrified me. Now it was a promise I was eager to keep. Joel walked in then making gagging sounds. You two are disgustingly cute. Also dinner's ready. I ordered Thai food. With whose money? Craig asked, amused. Yours, obviously. Billionaire privileges. We all laughed, heading to the kitchen together, this makeshift family we'd built from love and trust and second chances. As I sat down to dinner with my brother and my fiancée, I sent a silent thank you to whatever force in the universe had given me another chance at this life. Whatever had brought me back, whatever had led me to that grocery store where I met Craig, whatever had given me the courage to try again, I was grateful. And I knew that whatever came next, we'd face it together. Because that's what love was, choosing someone every day, building a life with them, facing the world as a team. And I'd chosen Craig just as he'd chosen me. Forever and always. Our second chance at happiness, lived fully, loved deeply, and treasured endlessly. 6 months after the engagement. The house was quiet when I got home from visiting Joel at college. Craig had texted earlier saying he'd be working late, but as I walked through the door, I found the lights dimmed and soft music playing. Craig. I called out, setting down my bag. In here? His voice came from the bedroom. I walked down the hallway, curiosity building. Our bedroom door was open, revealing Craig sitting on the edge of the bed, still in his work clothes but with his tie loosened and his glasses off. Hey, I said softly, leaning against the doorframe. I thought you'd be working late? I was. But then I realized I hadn't really seen you all week, not properly. We've both been so busy. He stood, crossing to me with that gentle smile I'd fallen in love with. I missed you. I missed you too. I wrapped my arms around his neck, breathing in his familiar scent. Joel sends his love, by the way. And he wants to know if we've set a wedding date yet. Have we? Craig's hand settled on my waist, warm through my shirt. I was thinking spring. Something small, just family and close friends. Spring sounds perfect. He pressed a kiss to my forehead, then my temple, then the corner of my mouth. Everything sounds perfect with you. I turned my head to capture his lips properly, the kiss starting gentle but quickly deepening. It had been almost a week since we'd had real time together, both of us caught up in work and obligations, and I'd forgotten how much I needed this. His touch, his presence, his love. bedroom? I murmured against his mouth. We're already here, Craig pointed out, amused. Good point. I started unbuttoning his shirt, taking my time with each button, revealing his chest inch by inch. Craig wasn't overly muscular, but he was solid and warm, and I loved every part of him. He helped me remove his shirt, then reached for mine, pulling it over my head. His hands traced down my sides, thumbs brushing over my ribs, making me shiver. Still okay? He asked, as he always did, even after a year together. More than okay, I assured him. We undressed slowly, taking our time, relearning each other after days apart. Craig's hands were gentle as they explored my body, across my shoulders, down my chest, along my stomach. Every touch was reverent, like he was memorizing me all over again. When we were both finally bare, he guided me back onto the bed, settling beside me. The lamplight cast soft shadows across his face, making his eyes seem darker, more intense. I love you, he said simply, his hand cupping my face. Show me, I whispered back. Craig kissed me deeply, thoroughly, while his hand traveled lower, wrapping around my length. I gasped into his mouth at the contact, already half-hard just from being close to him. He stroked slowly, his touch confident and sure, knowing exactly how I liked it. Craig, I breathed, my hips arching into his touch. I've got you, he murmured, his lips trailing down my neck, across my collarbone, down my chest. He took his time, placing kisses and gentle bites along the way, until he reached his destination. When his mouth closed around my length, I couldn't stop the moan that escaped. He took me in slowly, his tongue doing wonderful things that made my thoughts scatter. His hand worked in tandem with his mouth, building pleasure in waves that made my toes curl. Wait, I managed, tugging at his shoulder. I want, together. Craig released me with a soft sound, understanding immediately. He reached for the bedside drawer, pulling out supplies we'd long since become comfortable with. I watched as he prepared himself, the sight always arousing. His fingers disappearing inside himself, his face flushed with pleasure. Come here, I said, pulling him toward me. But Craig shook his head. Your turn tonight. I want to feel you. Heat pooled in my stomach at his words. We usually alternated, both of us enjoying giving and receiving, but tonight felt different. Special somehow. I took the bottle from him, coating my fingers generously. Craig lay back, spreading his legs for me, completely trusting. I started with one finger, watching his face as I worked him open. His eyes closed, lips parting as I found that spot inside that made him gasp. More, he requested, and I added a second finger, then a third, taking my time to make sure he was ready. When I finally positioned myself between his legs, my length pressing against him, I paused. You're sure? Always sure with you, Craig said, reaching up to pull me down for a kiss. I entered him slowly, carefully, feeling the tight heat of his body welcoming me in. Craig's arms wrapped around my back, holding me close as I seated myself fully inside him. Okay. I checked, staying still to let him adjust. Perfect, he breathed. Move, Arthur. Please. I started a gentle rhythm, rocking into him with slow, deep thrusts. Craig's legs wrapped around my waist, changing the angle slightly, and I hit that spot that made him moan my name. There, he gasped. Right there. I maintained that angle, moving steadily, watching the pleasure build on his face. His length was trapped between our bodies, rubbing against my stomach with each thrust, adding to his pleasure. I love you, I murmured, leaning down to kiss him. Love you so much. Love you too, Craig managed between gasps. Always. We found our rhythm together, bodies moving in sync, building toward something beautiful. I reached between us, wrapping my hand around Craig's length, stroking him in time with my thrusts. Arthur, he warned, I'm close. Me too, I admitted. The combination of being inside him, of touching him, of his hands on my back and his breath in my ear, it was overwhelming in the best way. Craig came first, his body tightening around me as he spilled between us with a cry of my name. The sensation of him clenching around my length pushed me over the edge moments later, and I buried myself deep as I found my release, filling him with warmth. We stayed connected for a long moment, both breathing hard, foreheads pressed together. I love our life, Craig said eventually, his hand stroking through my hair. Me too. I pressed a soft kiss to his lips. Every single part of it. We cleaned up lazily, then curled together under the covers, my back pressed to his chest, his arm draped over my waist. Spring wedding, Craig murmured against my neck. Small ceremony. Then we'll officially be family. We're already family, I pointed out. Have been since you believed my crazy time travel story. True. I could hear the smile in his voice. But I want to make it official. Want everyone to know you're mine. Possessive, I teased. When it comes to you. Absolutely. I turned in his arms so we were face to face. Good. Because you're mine too. Forever. Forever? Craig agreed, sealing it with a kiss. As I drifted off to sleep in his arms, I thought about how far we'd come. From strangers in a grocery store to engaged partners building a life together. From my lowest point to this, contentment, love, safety. My stories had always been about second chances and happy endings. I just never believed I'd get to live one myself. But here I was, wrapped in the arms of the man I loved, looking forward to a lifetime of moments just like this. Some stories, I'd learned, were worth living even more than writing. And ours was the best story of all.